I am so excited to be with Grace Nono. She is a Filipina and she is a singer. She is an ethnomusicologist, a scholar of Philippine shamanism, a cultural worker. And I was so honored and grateful to have spent time with Grace in the Philippines, in her home, learning so much about our indigenous practices and being in the land. Grace, I'm grateful to be with you today and have you share your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Annalisa, for inviting.
Grace, I want to share with the audience and have you share with the audience your background because it's quite, you have been so many places all around the world and yet now you're back home. So could you share, please, where you're from and a little bit about that journey and why you're back?
I was born in Agusan, which is in northeastern Mindanao in southern Philippines. Having come from here means I spoke languages that were not the most popular. And that has been very important in my life. It means that I could go places and be able to communicate with people. Now, coming from a place that was considered provincial, backward, people from here were seen as inferior because maybe we had darker skins and the way we speak, we're considered as having accents, even though everyone has an accent. So that was something that I had to overcome in my life, to go past that position of inferiority that neocolonial dynamics assigned to me.
So, Grace, I want to talk about the tie in our history 300 more years Spanish colonial rule than the Americans for half a century. And that had deep consequences for the people. This inferiority, which is not real, has been internalized by the people, our ancestors, me, and there is this beauty that you lifted up in the land, in the language, and also your depth of relationships and research with the Filipino
Culture bearers.
culture bearers. And so I want to bring that to light because often, as someone who has been part of the diaspora in America and have not had a strong connection to my roots, you have actually gone back to your roots. You have, and Grace hasn't mentioned this, but after getting degrees from Harvard, Yale, doing scholarships and fellowships across the country and in the world, you have decided to come back to your land. What made you decide to come back now?
That's the beauty of having grown in the land, having grown up in the land, Annalisa. You have that early connection that you may lose along the way because you have to, assimilate just like everybody else, gain degrees. I do not have a degree from Harvard, by the way, from Yale, from NYU, and from the University of the Philippines. I did do a postdoc at Harvard. Everybody is never ever separated from the land. We eat each day food that comes from the land, but our relationship to it may be not active, not actively conscious. We're not consciously relating to it because our lives are mediated by, the infrastructures that we have built for modern life. Now, coming back to your question, it is a choice. It is a choice, but it was also largely a calling. During the pandemic, I thought to myself, um, what am I going to do now? When am I going to go back to the land? Land is something that you have to maintain a relationship with, otherwise, you could lose it. My parents left me, you know, um, not the big piece of land, but land. And they lived, died, and are buried on the land. And I know that if I am the one to take care of the land, no matter how difficult that is, I may be able to let it be what it wants to be, more so than if I hand it over to some developer, to somebody who wants to build a mall on it. Because I have the heart, I have a relationship with the earth that is deepening. Let's put it that way. I may have been alienated for a long time, but I am coming home, and that is a good thing.
The relationship with the land, Grace, to go deeper into that and to bring the land, listen to the land, have it come be what it is, and feeling a calling. It I hear a spiritual connection, that it's not just, I'm going to take care of it, I'm going to plant things on it, but there's a soul connection, there seems to be a spiritual connection.
It is a soul connection that I hope would awaken in all of us. Now, some of us may awaken that connection earlier, others at a different time, but it's really a connection that is in all of us that has to be reactivated, because we are all of the land, but we may not be aware about it each day, each moment, because of this life's many distractions, many intoxications. But the land cares for us each moment. And to become more aware of that, my relationship is getting deeper. And that is happening by me actually bringing myself to inhabit a piece of land and getting to know it. Just about 2 hours ago, I was talking to my person here in the land, and we were listing down the different birds, that we have seen here, that we have heard, the different, the dragonflies, the fireflies, kinds of frogs, different kinds of fishes. So it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. I've read tons of books, but this is something else.
Grace, the connection to the land and nature and feeling called, you have had also depth of experience and commitment to the culture bears, learning for yourself, sharing learnings. And I want to talk about the Babaylan, because that was actually what attracted me to you first, was that I was in search of reconnecting to the land, reconnecting to indigenous healing practices, and reconnecting to the history and understanding our people better. And so your name came up, and your books, your award-winning books on Babaylan and your experiences and music were so beautiful, are so beautiful. And I'm curious, Grace, how has that Philippine shamanism, working with and learning from culture bearers, how did that start for you?
That's a good question, Annalisa. I grew up even here in Mindanao, where there's a lot of traditional culture still, but um, the colonial history, the neo-colonial history, puts a veil over all of that. We are raised to be as the best colonials that we can ever be, to be able to go to school, earn degrees, and all of that. So I had no inkling whatsoever. I thought religion was Catholicism, Protestantism, Islam, all of that, but nothing else. I thought music was, popular music, classical music, and it's all Western. Um, but then I had I had an experience that turned everything around for me. I was in a trip to the mountains with some friends, and And this was after college already. And for the very first time, I met a living Babaylan, a living ritualist or shaman. And for the first time, I listened to an oral chant, an indigenous chant. And that, all of that um, provoked a big question on me. I had gone through college in the best educational institution in the Philippines, and not once did I come across these things, except maybe I read about the Babaylan in a book. And in that book, it said that the Babaylans perished, with colonization. And here I was, face to face with this person. And so I thought to myself, what's wrong with our education? How can I say that I am educated when I don't even know about these things, or I've read things that are contrary to what I am experiencing right now? And so from that point on, I was ushered to an educational direction that was not solely academic. So yes, I went to school, I pursued that, but I had this other educational track of going directly to culture bearers, which to me are people, a lot of them advanced in age, but not everybody, who usually had minimal levels of formal education, because education has been patterned after colonial education. So education has been a way to colonize our minds. Culture bearers, they have knowledge, they have wisdom that is not something you will get from the classroom. Maybe the classroom will talk about it in cursory ways. When you go straight to the culture bearers and witness them practicing what they know in context, that is a whole other way of learning.
Grace, I want to go deeper into that. I was so fortunate to be able to have spent time with you and for you to generously share your relationships, to be able to meet Babaylan myself and witness some experiences, ceremonies. I'd love, Grace, if you would be able to share with us, what is this knowledge? What is this knowledge not written down, not captured in the books, and what is it we're missing?
Okay, I cannot tell you all in words. Yeah, these things have to be experienced, but maybe to put it simply, it is a living relationship with the seen and unseen world. It's a living relationship with the land. And you can write about these things, you can talk about these things, but you can never reduce all of that to just words. So, yes, I was happy that you were able to experience some of that while you were here. Now, it takes a long time to also unpack what one experiences. And unpacking, in my experience, requires ongoing conversation, ongoing relationship with the culture bearers who will help you understand what was going on, whatever it was that you experienced. So when I talk about culture bearers, I'm really talking about, if possible, a lifetime of relationships. You learn from them, you share with them what you can in ways where the relationships with spirits, with ancestors, with the land are not severed.
One of the insights that I personally have been reflecting on is as I try to ground myself as a mother, as a leader, supporting leaders, is that there's so much knowing being already. I don't have to imagine a place that doesn't exist. there are these beautiful, and not to make it romantic, but examples that come from my land, our land, of ways of being that is about community and connection and honor to the land, to ancestors, to spirits, that is embedded through centuries, through more. I mean, this is beautiful. And not to say that there's no drama. We're human, there is. But yet, there's a sense of we'll help each other and we're not alone. We're not alone here. Don't and there's pain and life will give us challenge and we're not alone. And it's for me that's so not what I experience in uh, my upbringing and my education. And it's beautiful to see that, and it's beautiful to know that I want my daughter, my children, to see that we have that in our roots, and there's relationship that I hope we can build, even though we're far in the United States. But there's this sense, Grace, and I so appreciate this manifestation through you that I get to learn and other resources. It's beautiful. And so that moves me, Grace, because you and I have been talking about two things. One is you have a traditional arts series coming up. And I'd love for you to share about what is that? What's the intention? And how can people sign up?
We have this Philippine traditional music, poetry, and dance webinar series that we started during the pandemic. And people can find out about it in the Tao Foundation. No, that is still under reconstruction. On my page, on my website, gracenono.com, but also on social media. You can look me up on Facebook, and we have an Instagram account called Himig Tula Galao. Okay. And what is this? This is traditional music masters, traditional dance and martial arts masters and practitioners, and also oral tradition practitioners, passing on some of their knowledge to whoever is interested, mostly descendants of Filipinos, but we are also open to others who are sincerely interested to learn. Through this webinar, and we have proven that people actually do learn how to play musical instruments. It's just amazing. And yes, we're on our 5th year, and it's been wonderful to provide this service for people who want to reconnect with their roots, to do so through an embodied practice. You're not just reading a book, you are learning how to play a musical instrument. You're learning to play gongs, to play a lute, to sing in a particular way, to dance in a particular way. So it's beautiful because your body is very much at the center of this process. And later on, we would like to organize on site. People can come here and actually meet the masters and commune with other learners, and it will be beautiful.
So, for our listeners, we will include those links, and know that it is doable no matter where you are in the world. You don't have to make the trip all the way to see Grace, though that would be amazing. And this is coming up. So I will include all of those links. The other piece I wanted to share, Grace, which you alluded to, is that a possible in-person trip to meet the masters, meet you. And I'd love to hear, what is that vision? What's the intention for that vision?
Yes. And Annalisa, you're a collaborator in this. We call it Yuta, which means land, co-creating with Mother Earth, from alienation to reconnection, from degradation to restoration. It is a 10-day immersive program designed to nurture connection. Spend 10 days in community with Filipinos and global participants, eager to engage hands-on with the land, culture bearers, and practitioners of traditional arts. The participants will experience cultural immersion, explore indigenous food, architecture, clothing, music, dance, and other practices hands-on. The dates are still being finalized.
It sounds wonderful. Grace, I want to really emphasize for our listeners that it's about connection. And whether you are even Filipino, of course, we love Filipinos, but how can we reconnect with the land, whatever your land is? How can we connect with our spiritual practices, our culture bearers, our ways of connecting with nature, community? This is the intention, is that there has been a severing, and if we feel alienated, that's not a solo experience, that there can be a way, that there are avenues, either through the webinars you mentioned or through this trip, which we will put into place. But I'm so grateful for these opportunities, because often we feel it and yet it's difficult to find, how might I bring back that connection? And not just for myself, but for our children, our community. So thank you so much for offering this, Grace. It's so appreciated and beautiful. Grace, I want to talk about lightning round questions. Let me know if you are ready.
Sure.
Okay. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Cooking or takeout?
Cooking.
Climb a mountain or jump from a plane?
Climb a mountain.
Have you ever worn socks with sandals?
In places with lots of mosquitoes like here, yes.
How would you rate your karaoke skills on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 actually being you.
I don't like karaoke, to be honest. I really don't.
Oh, Grace, you're so welcome. Grace is
Sorry.
so just to be clear, Grace is an international singer, like so famous. So just sure she would never say that, but I want to make sure we say that. Can you plug your book here?
So the
Yes,
first
please.
book is The Shared Voice, Chanted and Spoken Narratives from the Philippines. That is about oral, accessing wisdom that's not in the books through oral tradition. Okay. The second book, Song of the Babaylan, that one is about the healers, the ritualists, and the oralists. And the third one, the one that you were talking about, is Babaylan Sing Back, Philippine Shamans and Voice, Gender, and Place, Cornell and Ateneo. This one is the ethnographic information plus a lot of, meshing with a lot of theory, interdisciplinary theory.
What is your favorite way to practice self-care?
Well, I watch movies and then I like to play with my dogs.
What's a good professional development you've done?
I've loved interacting with artists and scientists from different cultures and with culture bearers.
What's your definition of a boss mama?
A boss mama is like my mother, like my daughter, and probably a little bit like me. What is that? My mother was low key, but she was definitely the boss. My daughter, maybe in her own way, similar. Maybe I'm like that too.
What advice would you give your younger self?
To not be so hard on myself. I can be very tough on myself, to laugh more, to relax more, to sleep more. It's hard. I know that it's hard to give that advice because, we have always been trying our very best and trying to keep up. But looking back, yeah, now I have to learn that. Okay. I have to learn to relax more and to laugh more and to enjoy more, to sleep more.
Where can we find you? Your website would be great to mention here, any of your social media.
Yeah. gracenono.com. And I have Facebook pages, Grace Nono and Grace Nono Tao Music, TAO Music. Those are just two words, Grace Nono Tao Music. And I still have to be more active on Instagram. That's all.
And then last question, do you have a final ask, recommendation, or any parting thoughts to share?
Okay. I think the gist of my life is finding a way to align with my soul purpose, my life purpose. That to me is the greatest fulfillment of life. So that I will keep doing that, keep trying to open my ears, my heart and my mind and my body to inspiration, to guidance. And for as long as I have that, it is a life well lived.
So beautiful. Grace, I'm grateful. Thank you so much for the stories, and I'm excited about our upcoming trip together. Thank you, thank you, thank you.